Hi, my name's Molly and welcome to our bookish corner of the internet. Hello, happy new year. I'm going to tell you that I feel a bit awkward filming this right now because my boyfriend is across the room and it's awkward. So I thought I would film this video next to my Christmas tree because I'm literally going to take it down after this video, so enjoy this Christmas tree while you can. Today I'm doing my 2019 reading stats, so every book I read and sorting them into various different statistics and categories. And yeah, so if you enjoy reading stats, I think you'll enjoy this video because I went a little bit overboard with it, as I often do. I have a too much gene and it definitely kicked in while I was doing this, so enjoy. The first thing is that any books that don't have their spine out are just representing books that I read but don't own or don't currently have or don't have access to or something, just so you can see the numbers in the different piles. But obviously I can't give you that like specific book because I don't have it, or I read it on my Kindle or something like that. In 2019 I read 50 books overall. That is 17,189 pages. The shortest book I read was 12 pages. It's technically not a book, it's just the first chapter of a book from a different person's point of view, like released as a little thing by the author, but Goodreads counts it as a book and therefore so do I. The longest book I read was 980 pages. So the first way I organised them was kind of by colour. It's very obvious I read the most blue books this year. This happens all the time. Most books I read are blue. I don't know why, it's just a thing. Maybe there's something in why they make book covers blue, I don't know. But I also put in a lot of like the greeny purpley tones as well, and just straight up green, because it was satisfying to see them together for me. I also read quite a few black books, a couple of white books, and then I kind of mushed my pinks and reds and oranges and yellows together. Then there's the category that don't really have one main colour, they're just kind of a lot of colours, so that's just kind of its own category. Here is a quick picture of all the books I read. I'm going to go through them properly at the end, but here's a quick picture. If you literally just want that and then you want to leave, that's fine, I don't judge you. So I then organised them how I read them by month. This very obviously shows where my reading slump hit really bad, but the whole year was kind of a reading slump for me. I normally read about 75 books per year, but in 2018 I actually managed 100, and then I was kind of hoping for a similar thing this year, but obviously I only read 50. In January I read 5 books, in February I read 3 books, in March I read 4 books, in April I read 2 books, in May I read 3. I didn't read anything in June. I'm still sad about it, it was not a good month. It's also when my exams were, so that kind of makes sense. I read 1 book in July, 2 books in August, 7 books in September. I read 4 books in October, 8 books in November. December was my best reading month with 11 books. Another way I organised them was by rating. Doing this made me realise I really need to change how I rate books. I think I feel bad giving books anything less than a 3, and I shouldn't do that. So like a 3 is just kind of like, yeah, it was like fine, but that should probably be a 2. And I think my 3s and my 4s are a bit not, like, I'm too nice with my 4s, I think, so I shouldn't have more 4s than I have 3s. And looking at those books now, that's not how I feel about them, and I have way too many 5s, and some of the 5s there I don't feel that strongly about. So I'm really gonna look at my own rating system in 2020 and kind of not feel bad about rating books, because I just feel really guilty and I need to not do that. So I'm going to work on that this year, I think. So I had 13 3-star books, 20 4-star books, and 17 5-star books. 13 of my books this year were rereads, meaning I've read them before and I was reading them again, which means 38 were first time reads. An interesting statistic that I always enjoy in other people's videos is their new to them authors and authors they've read before. I think my stats are the opposite of most people's, but oh well. So I read 15 books by new to me authors. 34 books were from authors I'd read before, which amounts to about 15 different authors with different amounts of books to each author. 1 book is in the middle because it's written by 3 separate authors and I've read from 1 of them before. Another way I organised them was by amount of pages in each book. I separated them into 7 categories. There's below 200 pages, around 200 to 300, 300 to 400, 400 to 500, 500 to 600, 600 to 700, and then above 700 pages. I had 8 books below 200, That's mostly graphic novels, I think. I had 8 books between 200 and 300 pages, 18 books between 300 and 400, 7 books between 400 and 500, 3 books between 500 and 600, 4 books between 600 and 700, and then 2 books above 700 pages. My most read genre this year is the same genre it always is, because it's kind of really broad, and that's the general fantasy, sci-fi, magical realism, paranormal, romance, blah blah blah. In that category there are 30 books, and I also read 14 contemporary books, 1 historical fiction, 3 non-fiction books, and 2 mystery books. As you can see, I definitely prefer reading YA. I read 46 YA and 4 adult books. I haven't yet reached the age where I prefer adult books, and I still find them quite difficult to get into, so maybe that'll improve this year, but I'm not really holding out hope. And it'll probably look very similar to this next year. This year was clearly a year of series. I don't normally read this many series, I don't think, but 36 of the books I read this year were books in a series, and I finished a lot of series this year, which I'm quite proud of. 36 of the books were from series, which means that there were 14 standalones. Of the 36 that were part of series, there were 21 different series within the books, and 12 first books in a series. That stat kind of leads into my next one. This year I read 11 books that came out in the same year, so 11 2019 reads. Mostly this was because they were in a series that I'd read the first book of the year before and wanted the new book straight away. That's pretty much the only time I bought some, which means 39 of my books predate 2019 and are from my backlist. Only 1 of the 2019 books was a debut, and only 1 of them was the first in a series. 39 of the books I read were novels, so just your book standard books. 3 of them were anthologies, or little like snippets of books, or short little collections or short stories. And 7 of the things I read were graphic novels. I had so much fun organising this, so I hope it's okay to watch, and I hope it's okay to Future Molly to edit it. Good luck with that, Future Molly, have fun. I hope you all had a really good 2019. I'm hoping to have a better reading year this year. I am hopefully out of my reading slump, desperately hoping I am. I'm not really feeling like I am, but I'm really hoping I am. And I really want to try and read 100 books again this year. I really want to have some fun with this channel this year, and I'm really excited to make some new videos. So if you want to stick around for that, then feel free to subscribe, and if you like this video then like it, because that makes sense. And yeah, hopefully I will speak to you again very soon. Bye! An interesting statistic, I always do it. An interesting oh my god, that's hard to say. Interesting statistic. It's fairly common for me to end and start a year with a reread. This is me in the middle of my Twilight reread, so I read Twilight at the end of 2018. So that's New Moon, Eclipse and Breaking Dawn, all by Stephenie Meyer. Then I took part in the Buzzword Readathon. The word was lie, so I read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart and 7 Ways We Lie by Riley Redgate. Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Neal. The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. Dress Codes for Small Towns by Courtney Stevens. The Wicked King by Holly Black. Then I read Beastly by Alex Flynn because I just rewatched the movie. Then I read Her Mad Hatter by Marie Hall, and honestly the less said about that the better. Then I read Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. Then I read The Everlasting Rose by Donielle Clayton. And I finally got back into the Throne of Glass series, so I read Empire of Storms, and unfortunately a lot of the titles managed to come off of my copy, so that's sad. And then the same things happened with Tower of Dawn, so I read Tower of Dawn, both by Sarah J Maas. Then I read The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff. And then to finally finish the Throne of Glass series, I read The Assassin's Blade and Kingdom of Ash, both by Sarah J Maas. Then I read The Boyfriend Plot by Stella Wilkinson. King of Fools by Amanda Foody. I reread The Mind Readers by Laurie Brighton. Then I read My Lady Jane by the Lady Janies, who are Cynthia Han, Brodie Ashton and Jodie Meadows. I continued in the Mind Readers series with The Mind Thieves by Laurie Brighton, and read The View from the Cheap Seats by Neil Gaiman. How to Write a Love Story by Katie Cannon. The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sanchez. A Girl Called Shameless by Laura Stephen. The Mind Games by Laurie Brighton. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. Then I finished October by reading Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. Then I read The Colour of Lies by C.J. Lyon. Then I reread Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. Then I finally got round to the sequel Daughter of the Siren Queen, also by Tricia Levenseller. Then I also read the first chapter of the first book, but from a different character's point of view. I reread Heartstopper Volume 1 and 2 by Alice Oseman. I read First and Then by Emma Mills. I finished The Mind Readers with the Mind Keepers by Laurie Brighton. I reread Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. I read 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. I read Soul of Stars by Ashley Poston. I ended the year by starting another reread, the Precious Gems trilogy by Kirsten Gear. Then I read this book that has really cool comics about mental health, and my copy is signed, which is amazing, and my name is in the back of it, and so is my dad's because we helped to get it published. So yay, that's really cool. Then finishing Ruby Red, Sapphire Blue, and then finally Emerald Green. I ended the year by starting a new comic series, so I read Giant Days Volume 1, 2, and 3 by John Allison. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you for watching. Bye!